Good day, everyone. This is the continuation of the lessons in our Module 1, which is the Lesson 3, the properties of rock-forming minerals, or simply the minerals. Now, before we will proceed with this discussion, let me remind you again that this will serve as additional information or a recap or a summary of the discussion on the lesson 3, which is naa sa inyohang module. And also I have shared videos about the introduction to minerals and the properties or how to identify minerals, right? So kanisha, it will just serve as recap or summary of the lesson 3 discussion. And also, before we will proceed or elaborate more about the properties of these rock forming minerals, let me just do a recap on the lesson 1 and lesson 2 of our discussion. So that before we will proceed with the lesson 3, at least ma-remind mo or makarecap ta dito sa mga na-discuss nato or the lessons atong lesson 1 and lesson 2. Now, again in the lesson 1, we discusses about the uniqueness of the planet Earth, right? So nag-discuss ta unsa tong mga characteristics sa Earth which makes it as a unique planet among the other planets in the solar system. And one of the characteristics sa Earth that makes it unique is that it can sustain life. Tama? And in connection to that, the Earth also have four subsystems such as the biosphere, which refers to the living things or the organisms, which includes plants, animals, and other microorganisms. Second, we have the atmosphere that serve as a blanket which protects us or shields us from the ultraviolet rays coming from the sun. The third one is we have the geosphere that refers to the landforms katong mga mountains, valleys, volcanoes, hills, and others. And lastly, the fourth subsystems of the Earth is we have the hydrosphere, which refers to the bodies of water, which includes oceans, lakes, rivers, seas, streams, and others. So, mo to ang four subsystem. Now, to elaborate more about our planet, so in this lesson 3, we will be discussing or describing these minerals that can be found in our planet. Now, the question is, what are minerals? How can you identify a minerals? Or how can you describe minerals? Now, in the video that I have shared to you, naatoy na mention nga 5 criteria para makaingon ta nga that is a mineral or makonsider siya as a mineral, right? So again, the definition of the minerals is that it is defined as a naturally occurring, usually inorganic solid with a distinct chemical composition and an orderly crystalline structure. Again, if you're going to look at here from these illustrations of sample minerals, we can say that they really are solid, right? From sa picture. So that is one criteria. Another one, these minerals is naturally occurring or they are not man-made. They are not artificially made by man. So they undergo natural process. Next, third, they are inorganic. So when I say inorganic, dili sila made up of parts of living things or a living. And then fourth one, they have a distinct chemical composition or naa sila fixed chemical formula. Just example na to is a quartz. Quartz is a mineral that is a combination of two elements. So we have the chemical formula of a quartz, that is SiO2. So from that, it is made up of the silicon element and two oxygen elements. And lastly, the five criteria in considering or describing a mineral is that it has an orderly crystalline structure. So if tanawon po ninyo ang mga illustration here, they look like in or they are their structure is in crystalline form. So crystalline form because of the orderly arrangement of the atoms. So those are the five criteria that we can describe or we can define what is a mineral or what are minerals. Now, to elaborate more, aside from this given criteria or definition of minerals, the question here again is how can you identify minerals? So, we can identify minerals by simply describing their properties or their physical properties. Now, in your module, there are nine physical properties of minerals that are enumerated or mentioned, right? So we have here first, we have color, luster, streak, cleavage and fracture, density, hardness, reaction with acids, fluorescence, and phosphorescence. So we will just summarize these physical properties of minerals. So again, mao ni ang mga properties or physical properties sa minerals nga pwede nato ma-identify or pwede nato ma-describe ang isa ka mineral. So let's start with the first properties, which is color. Now, again, if you're going to look at the a picture or illustration of minerals, so again, ang pinaka first nga ma-observe ninyo physically is that they have different colors, right? Now, pag maingon ta og color, it is the result of the reflection of visible light. So if I remember ninyo, we have the electromagnetic spectrum wherein at the center is we have the visible light. So mao na ang makita sa ato ang mata. So that is why we can identify or we can see color. But the question here is that can we really specifically identify a mineral by just its color? The answer is no. Because if you're going to look at most of the minerals or some of the minerals, they have the same color. So for example, they look purple or makita nga minerals nga purple tanan. But you cannot specifically say that pari-parihas to sila because they might have differences. Parehas lang sila color, but they are different minerals. So ang color dili kay siya reliable nga pwede nato ma-describe or pwede nato ma-identify ang isa ka minerals. Now, these are examples. So I think you are familiar of the birthstone nato. So we have here January, we have garnet. So this is the color. And we have February, we have amethyst, somewhat purple. March, we have aquamarine. April, diamond. May, emerald. June, we have pearl or alexandrite. And then we have July, ruby. August, peridot. September, we have sapphire. October, we have this tourmaline opal. And then we have November, we have topaz. And the last one, we have December, we have tanzanite or zircon or turquoise. Now, if again you're going to look at here, you can identify that by just looking at here, it's color red or somewhat reddish, so that is a ruby. But take note again, this properties is not reliable because there are minerals that may same or may look reddish in color, but they are not a ruby. So that is the first properties. Next, aside from the color, we can also identify minerals by these properties or this property of minerals, which is luster. So luster refers to the ability of a mineral to reflect light from its surface. So in here, we can describe minerals. Some are metallic. Okay, examples here. Some are dull or non-metallic. Some are pearly. And some are vitreous or somewhat glassy. So, naay mga minerals that they shines or reflect light, but naapoy uban nga they are non-metallic so they cannot reflect light. So dili sila shiny. So mao na ang isa ka properties sa mineral. So in terms of their ability to reflect light. Next, aside from that, we can also identify a mineral by the color of its powder, just like this. So that properties is what we known as streak. So for example here, this is the mineral or the sample. So if you're going to look at here, the color is somewhat grayish or blackish, right? But if you're going to scratch it or scratch na nimo siya and then mo gawas to iyahang powder form, but if i-observe nimo, is it the same with the color of the original sample or mineral? So kani siya dili because this is somewhat brownish in color. So in here, in this other sample, parehas. So again, ang minerals can be identified by the color of their powdered form. Next, aside from the streak, minerals also can be identified by these properties, cleavage and fracture. Now, if we talk about cleavage, it refers to the ability of a mineral to split or to break along a weak plane, forming flat surface. Or this cleavage is a predictable breaking because ma-predict nimo nga kuan gyud unsa iyahang pagka split because it is in a flat surface. While this fracture refers to the capacity of a certain mineral to break along curved surfaces. Take note again, this breakage or cleavage of a mineral can be predictable or a predictable breaking because it is formed from a flat surface or it can form flat surface, while this fracture is somewhat random breaking because it is along a curved surface. So lahi-lahi iyahang pagporma niya after ma-break. So a example here, so for cleavage, so this is example. So this can form a flat surface. So makita ninyo. In here, the fracture, it can randomly iyahang kuan surfaces or iyahang breaking niya because it is along the curved surface. So aside from the cleavage and fracture, we can also identify minerals by its density. Now, density is a quantity that is defined as the compactness of a sample of matter, or it is calculated as mass divided by the volume. So, ang mga minerals naa sila lahi or klase-klase nga or different density. As example here, this is a gold nugget or sample of a gold mineral, and this is also a quartz crystals. So as you can see here, quartz is always 1/5 the density of the gold. So different sila. So we can get again the density by getting the mass of the mineral. Mass again refers to the amount of matter. Ang mass mo na ang it refers to the amount or kadaghanan sa matter nga naa sa sulod sa sample or the object, while ang volume is the space it occupies. So i-divide na nimo, you can come up with the density. So again, one way that we can identify minerals is by their density or their compactness. Next, we also have hardness. Now, in hardness, it is the tendency of a mineral to resist abrasion or scratching. So, to test the hardness or how hard a mineral is, so we can have a glass surface, and then we will scratch or do scratching on the glass or the surface, and tanaw nato kung nabay ma-form nga scratch or ma-scratch ba siya. So the more nga mo natay makita nga scratching, so more nga dili kay siya hard or dito siya sa kung sa rate niya naa siya sa low nga kuan hardness niya, low level. But if walay scratching or still ang surface nato nga tong kuanan gisampulan kay walay na form nga scratch, so it belongs or its level of hardness is high. But also, very common that we can measure the hardness of the mineral is by using the Mohs scale. So in here, makita nato ang mga samples. So ang pinaka naa sa low level is we have, the low scale is we have the talc. So naa siya sa 1 because kaning talc is commonly man nato na makita or ginagamit. So usually sa mga powder, right? So baby powder nga atong ginagamit. Johnson baby powder. So that is made up of talc. So in terms of hardness, nagit siya sa pinaka low kay powder form man siya, right? Now, and then we also have next, we have gypsum, we have calcite, fluorite. Fluorite, again, it is present sa ato ang mga toothpaste. That is why if you can see or read at the back or written in the product of the toothpaste that we are using na ay fluoride dito, tama? Because it is made up of this mineral, fluoride. We have also apatite, we have feldspar, we have quartz, we have topaz, and then padulong na sa highest or high level up to the highest or the highest level of or scale of hardness. So makita gid nato nga ang pinaka-hard sa tanan nga minerals is we have the diamond. And we know how expensive diamonds are as used as jewelry, right? Now, to proceed, aside from the hardness, we can also identify minerals by these properties. How are they going to react with acids? So in here, minerals that contain carbonate react with acid. So for example, this mineral, so pag kani nga mineral na siya carbonate, so we have here hydrochloric acid. So this is acidic. So if butangan na to siya drop diha, there is a reaction or changes na mahitabo sa mineral. So na mga minerals that would react to acids, but some napay uban nga dili. Next, we have fluorescence na properties. So this fluorescence is the ability of minerals to glow when bombarded with ultraviolet rays. Example here, so we have, this is the original mineral or sample. If makita ninyo, wala pa siya naglight or nagglow. But with exposure to ultraviolet light, so it forms this glowing effect. So this is what we call a fluorescence properties of minerals. And lastly, we have phosphorescence. So phosphorescence is it refers to some minerals that would continue to glow even after a source of ultraviolet ray. 'Di ba ang fluorescence nga properties, ang mineral pag ma-expose sila sa ultraviolet light, mo glow sila. But some minerals even wala sila na expose into ultraviolet rays or ultraviolet light, they would still exhibit this glowing effect, and that is what we call properties, that is phosphorescence. So again, those are the properties or physical properties of minerals that we can identify them. Again, we have color, they have different colors, luster in terms of their how they are reflecting light or how shiny minerals are, streak by the color of their powder, cleavage by cleavage and fracture if we're going to break them. So this is in flat surface and this is in curved surface. Density is the relationship of the mass and volume, and then hardness. So we can use the Mohs scale, and then we have reaction with acids. Some minerals, if they are exposed to acids, there is what we call reaction. And some minerals, if they are exposed with UV light, they will exhibit a glowing effect. And some, if with absence of UV light, still they will exhibit a glowing effect, and that is their phosphorescence properties. So I think that's all for this lesson 3. As again, this is just a recap of the discussion for this lesson. So I hope that you have understood the discussion about the properties of minerals. So if there are questions and clarifications, again, please notify me or message me in our group chat. And also take note that please always be updated with our Google Classroom, our group chat, and especially our group page. So I will just leave you with this quote: push yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. So even though we have this new normal situation, so please keep pushing yourself in doing better, because inyuhang self for good ang first nga motivate sa inyo, ha, or for you to go forward or move forward. But still, we are here, your teachers and your parents and other loved ones, to motivate you. So please be motivated. So thank you and God bless. Again, this is your Science 001 or Earth and Life Science instructor, Miss Rahima S. Macno. Once again, good day, everyone.